if you could choose, say, two words that kind of defined what those companies are, what the scene is about, what would be kind of the two words you would think of? That's a tough one, I know.
Yeah. Okay. So to describe the ecosystem here, you mean, or
so, and I'll tell you from my point of view what I see. Right, I see out of the things you've mentioned, two things come up when it comes to companies in Denmark, especially the startups and even the ecosystem. I hear trust, and I hear community, as in the food, the things that are tied to the culture, right? The maritime, all that stuff, and then everything else. Fintech, giving financial data services, whether it's insurtech, medtech, they all seem to be something that you have to have a lot of trust, right? And in order to make that work. So I hear it and I go, okay, trust and community are very important, and you can't get around it. So what would, obviously I've just given you my answer, so I'm making it tougher because
I think I understand what you're saying, and I would probably share the trust one with you. I think they want to do business with a company that they trust, whether it's a consumer, or whether it is me as a business. I really want to do business with a company that I trust. But I also think that values, and I'm trying to find the right word for the values, the ethics, the kind of connection to is there a greater good that this applies to? I think particularly on the consumer side, there is really a growing, sentiment around that. Does this contribute to the sustainable development goals that the UN has set forward? Gotcha. Is this like they want to? I think young people in particular, but also people in the Nordics, really want to feel like we are not on the wrong side of this. This is important. Climate change is important. Egalitarian rights, equal rights are important. How do we participate in that, even down to the point of where we spend our money? How do we know that? And that is also part of trust, right? But how do you kind of say that? Things like secondhand stores are really big here. Companies that are, like I'm saying, recycling food that's being thrown away, but it's still good food. Those are growing, and not just here, but also in Europe. I think that's something we're starting to see emerge. So I might describe that as values. Trust and values. What are the values of this organization?
Gotcha.
So a lot of companies that are under scrutiny are companies that have maybe very sophisticated supply chains and were able to deliver a lot with a little bit of at a low cost, let's say. But those supply chains necessarily will be fraught with problems because they're trying to lower cost as much as possible. So they will not be necessarily looking for the most sustainable solution or the most egalitarian solution or whatever it is. But those are scandals that I think before wouldn't really have been a big scandal, or let's say a controversy. If you go back 20 years, I don't think we would have. Don't get me wrong. People were concerned with labor rights and that sort of thing. You remember the famous Nike scandals of the 90s and that sort of thing. What was going on in the shoe factories?
Sweatshops and things like that.
Sweatshops, exactly. That was the word, right? That was the big word.
Where does Martha Stewart get her things? But how are they produce it? I remember
exactly.
All that.
Exactly. So it's been on the mind, but I think it's spreading now in a different way, and climate change is not part of that. So it's not just how people are treated; it's also where are you getting these resources? How are you sourcing your materials? As we saw some changes happen in certain industries, but I think in other industries, particularly fashion, fashion is really come under fire a lot. As fast fashion has really shown that it's not sustainable at all. Really. It's completely suffering, and now it's suffering for multiple reasons because retail is really under pressure. But I think there is this idea of can I buy something that makes me feel good and makes me not feel guilty for like taking another chip out of the world and contributing to some horrible fate that we're all kind of waiting for.
And I could imagine that. Well, for one, when you talk about the fashion, I can see how the fashion industry is really hurt. I mean, I'm pretty sure the sale of pants has gone down, right? Most people just have videos now from, so no one's going to buy new pants anymore.
The sale of sweatpants is going up.
Exactly.
Right?
Sweatpants going up, actual trousers going down, right? But it also sounds like, and this is maybe even a cultural thing, I feel like there's probably one Danish word out there that just sums up everything, right? I just feel like there's one long Danish word maybe that's just like everything you said, it means that. Right, I don't know.
I hope you may be talking about hygge. It may.
I might have looked into that one.
Which is maybe the most famous Danish word at this point, and maybe the only Danish word that anybody will ever take the time to learn outside of Denmark.
Languages. I mean, I'm lucky. I think when I go to Denmark, everyone speaks English at a high level, but that might be because no one else speaks Danish.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely. It's a tough language. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to learn. I would say phonetically, like on par, maybe with French or more difficult, like as far as how difficult the phonetics are to learning Danish. I was lucky with Sweden. I spent 10 years in Sweden, and Swedish is much easier. It has many of the sounds that English has, just a few that extra sounds. This is way easier to get into.
I just feel like the Swedish, like you can build it on your own, like IKEA. It's like you can just kind of like piece things together and just figure out, that works. It's close enough. It's fine.
Well, actually, the truth is because the syntax is relatively simple, it's very consistent. Once you start to get a decent vocabulary and start to understand some of the conjugation, it's not too difficult. That they are. It's a simpler language in terms of how it's structured. And actually, they share exactly the same grammar. So Danes understand Swedes very well. There's a pretty high level of comprehension, and Swedes don't understand Danes at all because they can't understand what they're saying.